Hey, what's good, y'all? It's me, Quack. It's been forever since the last time I posted like one of my little 10-minute chats or rants or whatever you want to call it. But today I was just thinking, so I'm on my way to pick up my kids from school, and I was just thinking, like, how I always see on Facebook and other social media, basically talking about black people being on the Democratic plantation or whatnot, and um, and it made me think, like, you know, um, okay, they can keep saying that, but I don't think black people ever, as a whole, be down with voting and getting in bed with people that want to see you enslaved or minimal rights. And then I started thinking, like, well, how long, like, just thinking about the power structure, especially in the United States, and it's really not that many rich, like, billionaire, like, top, it's a handful, and they need to control a certain demographic to hold on to that power, and we're seeing that in real time, and and at this point, it don't even seem like they even trying to hide what they're doing. It's a clear, like, class war, and there's a certain group that I feel like is on the plantation. And then if you look at history, and I'm gonna just say the Europeans, because that's who I'm talking about. Um, the European Americans, the ones that migrated here from Europe or whatever. Not saying it in like a racist way or any way to be disrespectful, but that's just the best way to kind of pinpoint the demographics. But the first Europeans that came here, let's just go back to the 1600s. You had two types of Europeans coming over here. You have some with money and some without money. And then they had the head right system, and for every ticket that a person could afford to come over to the new colony or Virginia, they would receive 50 acres of land for each head that they can bring over here. And so, after all these rich men had enough of their families, they start financing and bringing over poor European men, working class men, and with the promise that if you come here and you work for me, and you work your 5 to 7 years off of servitude, then you can have some of this land. And a lot of times that didn't happen. These men would work their butts off with enslaved people. In the 1600s, slavery was a little bit too expensive, so the most of the labor were these working class European men. All right, so these men, they work their butts off for 5 to 7 years, and then when it's time to pay up, those rich men didn't want to pay up. So the rich lived on the east part of Virginia, and then when those rich men wouldn't pay up, those poor, let's call them frontiersmen, because that's what they had to be. They had to push out west, and then those men, the poor men, or the working class men, are the ones in the battles for land with the Native Americans. All right, so this goes on for a long time, all the way up into about it comes to a head in 1667. So these poor men are constantly fighting with the Indians. feeling like they're not getting fair representation with the government that they did have set up, and that same government took those men's right to vote at one point too. All right, so these working class men and slaves, they are constantly having to fight with the Native Americans. They're going to the government like, look, man, we need some help. Like these, we constantly fighting. Well, the very government that they're asking for help is in a fair trade with the Native Americans that they fighting. So they don't want to piss anybody off. All right. So you have one rich guy that sees this and decides like, look, I'm not really with all that. He goes to the workers and the enslaved and is like, hey, here's some liquor. I'm on your side. And then if y'all come fight with me, we can, take over this. And told the enslaved, look, if I run this, start running this, I promise y'all freedom. So they go fight some Native Americans. They come back. They decide they just gonna take Jamestown. So they go, and these are poor frontiersmen, Europeans and enslaved. They team up. They take over Jamestown. They burn it up. They burn it to the ground. Well, the leader, his name was Nathaniel Bacon. But the leader ends up dying within like a month of them taking over Jamestown, and then they don't have any plan. So the government or the governor that they pushed out, he comes back. He some of the followers just to make sure, because Nathaniel Bacon ended up dying. I don't know if I said, but he dysentery. He pretty much crapped himself to death. But the old governor comes back. Anybody that was a supporter, off about 23 of them. Well, all of the elite, it's not that many because they're hoarding all the wealth there. So they get together and they decide like maybe it's a bad idea to piss off these men. We can't keep everything that we have if something like that ever happens again. So this is when they decide, okay, well, we're going to give them, the working class, a little, and then we're going to have to move to a system of slavery that we know of. It's a clear distinction. Like the Africans are, they're pretty much it's too much space for them to escape and get back to Africa. They're easily identifiable. So that's why they choose the racial caste system with slavery. Hold on. Okay. Okay, so that's how we got the system of slavery that we have in here, because you can easily identify a poor European, and then you can definitely identify a slave. But since then, since that point, there has the elite men have always kept the division based off of racial tension. It's always something like that's why it's all during an election year, your timeline gets super just racist. That's all you see. And now, if you're looking on the closer that we get to midterms, it's the more that they're trying to. These rich men got to keep these dudes pissed off, but fed enough to keep doing their bidding. And then until we find some else way to break through that, we're fighting a losing battle. And that's my little 10-minute rant today. All right. Y'all have a good one.